Why are you wasting your life on things that don't matter? Most people never ask this question. They stay busy, productive, constantly moving. Yet years pass and the feeling remains the same. Too much effort, too little meaning. The tragedy is not failure. The tragedy is succeeding at things that were never important in the first place. Less, but better sounds simple. Yet almost nobody lives that way. Modern life rewards constant availability, endless commitments, and the illusion that more choices create more freedom. In reality, every unnecessary obligation quietly takes a piece of your attention, your energy, and your future. The result is a life crowded with activity, but empty of intention. The most surprising part is that the problem rarely begins with a major mistake. It begins with small decisions that seem harmless. One commitment, one request, one distraction, then another, and another, until the path ahead no longer belongs to you. In Essentialism by Greg McKeown, a radically different idea emerges. Almost everything is noise, and only a few things truly matter. But if that is true, why do intelligent, ambitious people spend so much of their lives trapped by things they never really chose? The answer is hidden in a pattern that affects nearly everyone, and once you see it, it becomes impossible to ignore. More importantly, understanding it may completely change the way you think about success, fulfillment, and the value of your time. The invisible cost of living by default. The life you never chose is often the one you end up living. Most people believe their biggest problem is a lack of discipline, motivation, or opportunity. But the deeper issue is far less obvious. Day after day, attention is pulled toward requests, expectations, notifications, meetings, obligations, and responsibilities that seem reasonable on their own. None of them feel dangerous. Yet together, they slowly take control of an entire life. This is what it means to live by default. Instead of consciously deciding what deserves time and energy, decisions are made automatically. A calendar fills itself. Priorities are inherited from other people. Urgent demands become more important than meaningful goals. Without realizing it, a person becomes highly efficient at pursuing objectives that were never truly theirs. One of the most costly illusions is believing that every commitment carries the same weight. It doesn't. Some choices move life forward. Others simply consume resources that can never be recovered. Time spent on the wrong things cannot be reinvested later. Energy given to low-value priorities is energy unavailable for what matters most. The consequence is subtle at first, a growing feeling of exhaustion, a sense of being busy without progress, the uncomfortable realization that despite working harder than ever, something important remains missing, not because effort is lacking, but because direction is. This is where the first shift begins. Instead of asking how to manage everything, the better question becomes, who decided that all these things deserve attention in the first place? And that question leads directly to an even deeper problem. Because the moment life loses clarity, something strange happens. Everything starts feeling equally important. Why everything feels important when nothing is clear? When clarity disappears, urgency takes its place. Few things create more stress than the feeling that everything demands attention at the same time. Emails seem important. Meetings seem important. Opportunities seem important. Problems seem important. The day becomes a constant race from one priority to another, yet the finish line never gets closer. What makes this trap so dangerous is that it rarely feels like a trap. It feels like responsibility. It feels like ambition. It feels like being productive. But beneath the surface, something critical is missing. A clear understanding of what truly matters. Without clarity, the mind loses its ability to distinguish between the essential and the trivial. Every request receives the same emotional weight. Every interruption appears urgent. Every opportunity feels too valuable to ignore. The result is a life spent reacting instead of choosing. This explains why so many capable people become overwhelmed. The problem is not that they have too much to do. The problem is that they have not defined what deserves their best effort. When priorities remain vague, attention becomes fragmented, and fragmented attention is one of the most expensive costs a person can pay. Notice what happens when a destination is crystal clear. Decisions become easier. Distractions become more visible. Opportunities can be evaluated instead of automatically accepted. Clarity acts like a filter, removing thousands of unnecessary choices before they ever consume mental energy. Yet there is a painful reality that stops most people from applying this principle. Deep down, many already know what matters. The challenge is not identifying it. The challenge is facing the consequences of protecting it. And that is where the next principle becomes uncomfortable. Because defending what matters often requires disappointing people who have become accustomed to having unlimited access to your time. The courage to disappoint others. Every unnecessary yes is a silent no to your own life. Few decisions feel as uncomfortable as disappointing someone. A request arrives. An invitation appears. An opportunity presents itself. The instinctive reaction is often immediate agreement, not because the commitment is important, but because rejection feels emotionally expensive. This is where many lives quietly drift away from what matters most. The desire to be liked, respected, included, or perceived as helpful creates a powerful force. It pushes people to accept responsibilities they never wanted, attend events they never needed, and pursue goals that do not belong to them. Each individual decision seems harmless. Yet over time, these small acts of accommodation become a system of self-abandonment. What makes this especially dangerous is that society frequently rewards it. The person who says yes is praised for being cooperative. The person who sets boundaries may appear selfish, but appearances can be deceptive. Behind many successful lives is a hidden skill that rarely receives attention, the ability to decline without guilt. The truth is uncomfortable. Every commitment carries a cost. Accepting one thing automatically means sacrificing something else. The sacrifice may be invisible in the moment, but it is always there. A meaningful project receives less attention. A relationship receives less presence. Personal growth receives less energy. Life does not expand to accommodate endless obligations. It simply becomes diluted. This is why essentialism is not merely a productivity strategy. It is an act of protection. Protecting focus, protecting purpose, protecting the limited number of years available to invest in what truly matters. Yet something remarkable happens when unnecessary commitments begin to disappear. Empty space starts to emerge. At first, that space feels uncomfortable. Then it becomes valuable. And eventually, it becomes transformative. Because eliminating the non-essential is only half of the equation. The real power comes from what can finally grow in the space that remains. Creating space for what truly matters. A crowded life leaves no room for greatness. Many people believe the goal is to remove stress, reduce obligations, or simplify their schedules. But essentialism goes much deeper than that. The true objective is not empty space for its own sake. The objective is creating space for what deserves to exist. Nature follows this principle everywhere. A tree cannot grow stronger if every branch receives equal resources. Growth requires selection. Energy flows toward what matters most. Human lives are no different. One of the greatest misconceptions about success is the belief that achievement comes from adding more goals, more projects, more commitments, more information. Yet some of the most fulfilled and effective people operate according to a different rule. They understand that meaningful progress often begins with subtraction. When distractions are reduced, attention becomes stronger. When decisions are simplified, mental energy becomes available for higher value work. When unnecessary noise is removed, important opportunities become easier to recognize. What once felt hidden suddenly becomes obvious. This explains why many breakthroughs arrive during periods of quiet reflection rather than constant activity. A mind overwhelmed by endless inputs struggles to recognize what is truly important. A mind with space can finally see clearly. There is also a deeper reward hidden within this process. Beyond productivity, beyond efficiency, beyond achievement, space creates presence. It allows relationships to become richer, work to become more meaningful, and experiences to become more memorable. Instead of rushing through life, attention returns to the moments that give life its value. But there is still one final shift that separates people who understand essentialism from those who truly live it. A single decision changes everything, and once that decision is made, the entire way success is measured begins to transform. Less, but better. The decision that changes everything. The quality of your life is determined by what you choose to ignore. Most people spend years searching for a breakthrough, a new strategy, a better opportunity, a secret advantage that will finally help them feel fulfilled, successful, and in control. Yet the transformation they seek is often hidden in a far simpler decision. The decision is not what to add, it is what to remove. This is the question that has been quietly waiting beneath everything discussed so far. Why do so many people waste their lives on things that do not matter? Because they assume a meaningful life is built through accumulation. More achievements, more commitments, more options, more responsibilities, more of everything. But life does not improve merely because it becomes fuller. It improves when what is essential receives the space it deserves. Every principle in this journey leads to this realization. The invisible cost of living by default, the confusion created by a lack of clarity, the difficulty of disappointing others, and the importance of creating space all point toward the same truth. Not everything deserves equal attention. The extraordinary life is not reserved for those who can do the most. It belongs to those who can identify the few things that matter most and protect them relentlessly. This is why the phrase, less but better, carries so much power. It is not a productivity technique. It is a philosophy of living, a recognition that time is limited, attention is finite, and every choice shapes the direction of an entire future. The question opened at the beginning of this journey now has its answer. Life is wasted on things that do not matter whenever choices are made unconsciously, whenever urgency replaces purpose, whenever approval becomes more valuable than meaning, whenever quantity becomes more important than quality. The moment that pattern is recognized, everything changes. A different calendar emerges. Different priorities emerge. Different results emerge. And perhaps most importantly, a different life emerges. Not because more was added, but because what never mattered was finally left behind.